23 minutes past 7 on BBC Radio Ken Breakfast with Maggie and Steve. It's Tuesday morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's time to review the papers now with Russell Wheldon from Kent travel operator Belle, France. Russell, you're welcome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Good morning.
Operation Stack hasn't been in now, fingers crossed, touch wood and all that, for a while. But did it affect you? You do a lot of travel, of course, to France, don't you?
We do a lot of travel to France. In fact, it's 100%. Cycling and walking holidays, so people are taking their cars in most cases, maybe going through the tunnel. But yeah, it has affected us, no question of that. But there's nothing that's not possible, and we can get people across the channel. Being the BBC, this is definitely a case of other ports are available.
Exactly, yeah.
We do work behind the scenes quite hard making alternative arrangements, so it's been an interruption for many people, but actually not the end of the world.
And are you very busy at this time of the year, Russell?
Busy time this year. People out there in France on holiday as we speak, but also making plans for next year, which is our 30th anniversary, actually.
Oh, excellent.
So a few ideas for next year, which we're cooking up, some interesting new itineraries, some special celebration holidays, particularly in the northern France areas where we've got people on holiday for the battlefields of the World War One.
Oh, of course.
Cool.
Lovely stuff.
Obviously topical.
Well, let's get into the papers, Russell. The first
Sure.
story you've pulled out is actually on the front page of The Guardian. This is about laughing out loud.
Yes, well, it makes me feel ancient because I'm over 50 and I've got teenage girls and I just can't keep up with the language they use, let alone on the
Lol.
phones. LOL. It's long gone since the days when we all thought it was lots of love and so on. But apparently this is now used by a mere 1.9%.
So we shouldn't be using lol anymore.
That's gone.
Unless you're me.
Okay, unless we're over a certain age.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then if we use it in a text to a younger person,
If
they'll
you're
think,
young and cool, you're not using LOL, basically.
So what are they using instead?
Well,
We
they're
need to
using
keep
all
up.
sorts of things. Ha-has and emojis and
Ha-ha?
he-he's.
Ha-ha.
That sounds quite original.
It
doesn't
does,
it?
doesn't it?
It's coming full circle, apparently.
See,
so-
everything, what goes around comes around.
This is
doesn't
all
it?
from a Facebook survey, so it must be true.
Oh, it's got to be then, yeah.
And there's lolling and lolzing and all sorts of stuff.
But we don't want to use lolling and lolzing anymore.
We've moved on
because it'll
from
be
those
showing
days.
our age. Okay, note
Yeah.
to self,
Those
don't
were the
use
dark
lol.
days.
Asterix laughs. Front page of the Daily Express and on page 5 as well. It's the controversy about Songs of Praise filming in Calais.
Well, yeah, this is a funny one. This is Songs of Praise, which is, I think, trying to rebrand itself almost with different venues. This time it's going across the channel to the migrant camp in Calais, and it's seems to have taken a fair amount of stick for this from various quarters, by some people who think it's essentially a commercial programme that should be publicising English towns, but I'd have thought it's a religious programme myself. So there's a bit of a hoo-ha about why they've chosen to film in the migrant camp, and the BBC's taken a bit of stick.
There's a temporary church, isn't there, that's been sort of put up by some of the migrants in Calais.
That's right. There's a sort of very ramshackle temporary church, as you'd expect, but it's a church nonetheless, and it's a religious programme, so I'm not quite sure what all the fuss is about. I did read somewhere else they were advised not to have used the Jerusalem hymn with its reference to England's green and pleasant land, but that's another story in another paper.
I was reading that as well, because Sally Magnuson, veteran Songs of Praise presenter, is there with two bodyguards as well.
Oh, yeah.
And they were being egged yesterday as well. They had eggs being thrown at them, so it's a bizarre thing.
It's it can't have been an expensive exercise, which is what some people is saying, that it's a waste of taxpayers' money. But there you go. I think it's a bit of an unfortunate situation they've got themselves into.
Okay.
Daily Mirror, you've got it's almost like the David Cameron story from a few years ago, isn't it? Family leave their daughter at a French service station.
Absolutely. Well, we've all been there, haven't we? We're on holiday, you're focusing on the dream destination, your eyes on the dashboard driving along, and this is a case in France, and they've left their daughter at the service station and driven 90 miles.
Oh,
90
dear.
miles?
90 miles before realising there's an empty child seat behind them. And she was a young girl, 6 or 7 years old, as I recall, but nonetheless, it shows us the dangers of when you're focusing on that holiday.
You mentioned that you've got teenage children. Have you ever left them anywhere?
I haven't. My wife might correct me, but I haven't.
You'll be getting a text now saying, lol, don't you remember the time you did?
It's a situation on holiday. As I said, you're focused on the holiday. And I remember some time ago we had some customers for Belle, France, who were driving down from the north of England to Dover. They missed the turning off the M25 to the M20, and rather than turning around and coming back again. They went all the way around the M25 as if it was one roundabout. Missed the ferry and everything, and it was, again, they weren't focused on really where they were going. It was totally wrapped up in the moment.
Get to the holiday destination.
So difficult times on holiday, but this is a fairly extreme case.
Yeah,
but
just a tad.
They do mention the time, it was David Cameron left, him and Samantha left the daughter in a pub,
wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Oops.
Awkward.
No, it happens to the best of us.
And finally, you've got a story about mattresses from the Mail today.
Yes, I hesitate to do this one quite so early in the morning, but this is How Old Is Your Mattress, which is a survey that's been done recently, and it tells us that most people's mattresses are it says it over 40 years old.
Oh, good grief.
40 years old. Many people have not bought a new one since 1975, when Maggie Thatcher came in.
Oh, dear.
So it goes into some detail, which I'll refrain from repeating. But
should we just say broadly that there's nasties involved?
Exactly. And it says here later on that actually the average 80-year-old mattress will contain more than 10 pounds of dead skin.
That's disgusting.
Which is a not a very pleasant thought. The odd thing about the story, I have to say, is for me, it compared this weight of 10 pounds as being the equivalent of the weight of a miniature dachshund, which I thought was why not just say 10 bags of sugar or something?
Because suddenly I'm picturing a miniature dachshund in...
Exactly.
Exactly. No, it's all wrong.
So the moral of the story is we should change our mattresses more often. But there you go.
To get rid of all the nasty and...
Exactly.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for leaving us with that thought. Russell, thanks for coming in, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on. That's Russell Wheldon going through the papers from us from the Kent travel operator Belle France.